Welcome to my channel where I'm trying to visit all the beaches on Cape Breton Island one by one. Today I'm taking us to LeButtereau. I'll tell you how to get there, what to expect when you arrive. Midway I'll share some interesting information I learned while researching this beach. And I'll end with a segment that I call Channel Talk, where I give status updates, share some thoughts, and maybe talk about what I'm doing next, respond to comments, or give a shout out. So hang around till the end. Let's zoom in and have a look around. How to get there. From the Big Fiddle in Sydney, it's a 2-hour and 20-minute drive. Here are the directions. From the park entrance, LeButtereau is located just 3.8 kilometers up the road. You drive through the valley, and when you see this big cliff, you're very close. I drove past it and drove up the hill to the lookoff to give you a good view. Now I'll drive down the hill to the parking lot. From the parking lot, you get a wonderful view of La Grande Falaise. In English, it's called the Great Cliff. There are no facilities or amenities at LeButtereau, but across the street there's a picnic area with picnic tables, and there's also toilets there. To get to the water, you have to walk down these stairs. These are showing their age. It's beyond time to repair or replace them, I think. From down here, you can watch the vehicles driving down the Cabot Trail. For me, the cliffs on this side are the most interesting feature of this beach. As you can see, it's a rocky shore. The cliffs are really interesting to stare at. Families enjoy coming here. The kids are hugged by the land and sea, soaking up the sunshine, seeing all kinds of different rocks and driftwood, different textures and colors. If you come here, you'll feel grounded and calm. Here's a panoramic view. I'll be right back. Enjoy. Check out those clouds. When you look at this, does it remind you of anything or anywhere? That looks neat. I think these photos may be of the same place. One is taken down at the beach level, and I think the other one is taken higher up. Alright, this is the part of the video where I tell you some interesting information I learned while researching this beach. Before I jump into it, I want to say a huge thank you to Daniel at Sydney Adventure Tours for sponsoring this video. Go check out his website to discover the great tours he offers. Thanks again to Daniel at Sydney Adventure Tours. I'm going to tell you a story about LeButtereau, but first I need to set the stage, so please be patient. Let's jump to 1934. This is James B. Harkin. He was the head of national parks in Ottawa. In September 1934, Harkin sent the Dominion Land Surveyor for National Parks, Richard Cotley, to Nova Scotia to inspect potential sites for a national park at the request of Nova Scotia Premier Angus L. MacDonald. Cotley spent around a month touring around Nova Scotia, and a significant portion of his time was spent in Cape Breton. The Nova Scotia government arranged for 2 men to accompany Cotley. They were H.F. Lawrence and Jack Barrington. Here are a couple of photos from September 1934 of all 3 men on the Cabot Trail. Cotley returned to Ottawa and prepared a detailed 30-page report for Commissioner Harkin and completed it December 1934. Now, jumping to 1935. The following year, in May 1935, the Nova Scotia Legislature passed an act to provide for establishing a national park in Nova Scotia. In a nutshell, it allowed the provincial government to expropriate land for the purpose of a national park, and they could then convey the land to the federal government for the purpose of a national park. All right, 1936. In the spring of 1936, the federal and provincial government came to an agreement on the boundaries of the park. And then in June, the federal government passed the Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island National Parks Act. The Cape Breton Highlands National Park was officially established, on paper anyway. There was a lot of work to do. There was some coverage in the newspapers. Now, let me introduce you to Mr. James Smart. If you needed a national park built from scratch, this was your man. He was responsible for managing the early development of the park as the acting superintendent. No time was wasted. He was immediately sent to Cape Breton to begin the project. Here's what he looked like. All the work was detailed in these annual reports. Work such as surveying, mapping, photography, filming, road improvements, rebuilding and repairing bridges and culverts, building warden cabins, construction of the residence for the superintendent, administration buildings, constructing the park entrance in Inverness, Celtic Lodge, golf course construction, tennis courts, athletic fields, and even stocking the Cheticamp River with young salmon. While the feds were building the park, the province had work of their own to do. Finally, I've arrived at the topic I've been trying to get at. It was official. The Nova Scotia government proclaimed the expropriation at the end of July 1936. The land had been expropriated and given to the Dominion of Canada. These newspaper clippings are from August 1936. Landowners affected by the seizure were told to file a claim for compensation. There was confusion. There were landowners who didn't even know they were affected by this. The miserable job of going door to door to speak with landowners and break the news to them fell on the shoulders of a 34-year-old by the name of Wilfred Creighton. Here's what he looked like when he was a little bit older. There were about 300 landowners to deal with and 70 homes. That means 70 families would lose their homes. The majority of the families were French Acadians who lived a short distance north of Cheticamp, on that beautiful west coast within the boundaries of the new park. The area was known as Cap-Rouge. They had a fishing wharf, school, post office, lobster factory, church, sawmill, general store. According to the 1931 census, the Cap-Rouge region had 25 families and 186 people. Acadian families had settled at LeButtereau in the early 1800s. They were fishermen and farmers living off their land. In the 1930s, there were 5 large Acadian families living at LeButtereau. I found the families in the 1931 census. There's family number 1, family number 2, family number 3, 4, and 5. The Cape Breton magazine published this interview with Wilfred Creighton. If you read it, you can really get a sense that he disliked putting people out of their homes. Families would get very upset with him. The expulsion of the Acadians in 1755 was called le grand dérangement, and some people were calling this expropriation le petit dérangement. Once again, these people were losing their homes. They were paid a very small amount of money for their property, and then they had to relocate, move their livestock like cows, sheep, pigs, chickens, clear the new land, rebuild their new house. It was a ton of work, and they weren't compensated for their trouble. Some people abandoned their homes, other people dismantled their homes board by board and used the salvaged wood to rebuild their next home, and some actually moved their house to the shore, attached barrels to the house, and put it in the water and floated it to Shed Camp. You would think that this house was ruined, but nope, I read online today it still exists and it's an Airbnb. You can see what the provincial government paid these people between 1940 and 1942. Maybe you'll recognize some names on the list. Today, if you hike LeButtereau, you will find the old foundations of the Acadian homes that used to be there, and their overgrown pastures. Now there's a campground at Cap-Rouge. There's an Acadian-style home and animators who share with you what life was like here before the expropriation. Circling back to Wilfred Creighton for a moment, the man had a very long and successful career. He was described as patient, level-headed, warm, and sensitive. He lived to 104 years old. All right, channel talk. This is some suggested reading if you want more on the topic and what happened at Cap-Rouge. There's a ton of information out there. All right, subscriber count, we're up to 2,135, and over the last 3 years, we've visited 64 beaches. Hey, if you enjoyed this video about LeButtereau, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe and watch more videos. Watch the videos all the way to the end, hit like, share, leave a comment. All of that sends positive signals to YouTube, and as a result, YouTube pushes my channel to more and more people just like you. If you're brand new here, welcome to the channel. Check out the playlist I've created just for you to catch up. And remember, the name of the channel is Cape Breton Beach Life. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. I want you to have a great day, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye for now.